Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this episode, we are going to learn the measuring techniques for currents and voltages in electrical circuits, and that is done with the help of digital meter as shown right now in front of your screens. A digital meter. You must remember one thing about a digital meter, that is where the knob, this dial mentioned here, is being set and how these leads are connected. Always remember the negative lead is representing a negative, sorry, the black lead representing a negative terminal, a positive lead representing a positive terminal for the digital meter. The negative lead must be connected where it is labeled COM, and the positive red lead is labeled where it is mentioned volt, ohms, amps, all the three symbols together. There is a third option, but usually it is being taped, it is being hidden. Always it's been hidden because we are not going to use it in our practicals. 10 ampere max. Okay, so these two leads must be connected. If either it is given to you in an ideal form, in a resetted mode where the leads are even detached, so you have to attach them accordingly as I've just mentioned, and then adjust the dial. Right now the dial is somewhere, which is in fact a symbol for alternating voltage, which is not the part of the AS. But anyway, V bar, this is called DV, a direct voltage. A bar, DC, direct current. Ohms for resistances. These are the three main areas where you can put your dial and get the value from the screen accordingly. If you set the dial somewhere here, it will give you a voltage value depending on what value you are selecting. If you put the dial, rotate the dial in this region, you will make it the digital meter. You make the digital meter as an ammeter, similarly as an ohm meter. So let's first talk about as an ammeter, while using the multimeter or digital meter as an ammeter, where you're gonna adjust your dial settings. All right, see here, first priority and the second priority. To use the digital meter as an ammeter, right, you have to put, like either at a 200 milliamp setting or either a 20 milliamp setting. This is most recommended one, the first priority. It means every current measured from the screen, any value with a 1 decibel place, suppose if I'm writing 1.3, it is actually, guys, 10 to the power minus 3 amps or 1.3 milliamps. Should be written in this way, either one of the way, in a scientific notation or with the milliamps idea. Okay, now let's see an exam style, a problem from the exam. If a meter is given as an ammeter, how you gonna write down a value? For instance, acha, by the way, okay, I've just first of all I've just mentioned about how to use a multimeter as an ammeter. You can see here, and then as a voltmeter. For a voltmeter, you have the first priority. This is the first priority. You will set the dial at 20 volt. Otherwise, you may shift it to either 200, sometimes 2000 milli, but most of the time the 20 ohm 20 volt is recommended. And the reason is very simple, because in the history of paper 3, for all the electrical experiments, the power supply given to you, I have witnessed, I have observed, and I'm talking with an experience and with some level of surety, that the level of EMF provided through in the shape of power supply through batteries or power or like the cells, it's not more than 12 volt. So measuring an EMF up to 12 volt, the most appropriate range is 20 volt. So remember that. Okay, otherwise you can use 200, but this will decrease the precision of an answer being measured by the meter, while at 20 you have a precision of 2 decimal places. Greater the decimal places, greater the precision, a chance of accuracy is increased or it's high always. Remember that. Okay, so that's idea for using a voltmeter, and previously I mentioned about using an ammeter. Now let's take some examples from the past paper. May June 2009, paper 31. Most of you must have completed this experiment in your practice sessions. During your practice sessions, close the switch, record the current in the circuit. Immediately after taking the reading, open the switch. This is here again a very important precaution which is usually ignored by a candidate. Whenever an ammeter is given to you, guys, always remember, first of all, it is connected in series with the rest of the circuit, and secondly, ammeter itself is a sensitive device. So if you let the circuit switched on and current keeps going on in the circuit, it may increase the heating effects, which may spoil the internal circuitry of an ammeter, and ammeter will gonna be blown up. But bichara means sadly it will never, like it sounds like I'm going to die. So it stopped working, by the way. So always remember, when you take the reading from the ammeter, open the switch. Alright, anyway, so now we are expecting a current here, and look at the area, and you have to write an answer. So how you are going to write an answer? Let's take some examples. See here, let's say the current is 15.2. So option A, 15.2, otherwise 0.0152, 15.2 10 to the power minus 3, or 0.0152. 0.0152. Now if you can look at over here, capital A stands for ampere. It means they have mentioned the unit, and I have mentioned previously in my other videos that when they mention the unit, you will only mention a value. When they never mention a unit, you have to mention a value with a unit. So it means, what is the right answer? You can see here, 15.2 10 to the power minus 3. Obviously this is minus 3 here. This is without a unit, and it's only a screen printing perhaps, right? So remember, either milliamps or even you can write 15.2 milliamps. But this is not a decent way of writing, like imagine 1.52 milliamps here. This is not a decent way of writing the value of current. Mark my words, please. So 1.52 either 10 to the power minus 3 amps, that is correct, and divided by 1000 you can have the value like this one. Okay, so this is the way how to record a current. Now let's see again. See, current, you have to mention a current. Again, no unit is mentioned. Previously there was a current but with a unit. So what we are expecting here, you should write whatever the current you will record from this circuit diagram comes up with a unit written by the candidate. Okay, all right. Now voltmeter. All right, it will happen in many of the past year questions. Then when they give you a voltmeter, first of all, it will be connected in parallel with any component or a part component or a part of a circuit, and they do mention the polarity of a voltmeter. So always remember, when they mention the polarity of a voltmeter, the idea of positive sign stands for what? Whereas this is one of the circuit diagram, positive terminal, negative terminal, but in the rest of the circuit no polarity is mentioned, because there is one component, there is another component, there is another component, sorry, terminal, right? So previously if we go back here, even they haven't mentioned the plus and minus, but since you already know that positive bar and a negative bar. But what about a plus minus signs, or even a plus signs? Nothing is mentioned. But in this particular question, why a positive sign is being mentioned? Simple answer: when they deliberately give you the polarity which is since we follow the conventional theory, so when we mention a positive sign, it means a student, candidate, experimenter must take this care with a high responsibility that a positive terminal of the voltmeter, the positive terminal of this component, and the positive terminal of battery must be connected in a right way, all on one side. Presenting a polarity on a voltmeter has a meaning. There are many experiments in which voltmeter does not have any polarity being mentioned, right or on a right or either on left. Okay, so you can connect anywhere, but here it is important. Otherwise, you will get different responses. So, idea of positive sign is important. Okay, that's the next topic we will cover in the next video, by the way. So this is all about measuring the voltage and current from the digital meter, right? This is very important for electrical circuits. And by the way, these are the only quantities being given to you in the electrical circuits, as the electrical physical quantities are not many like the mechanical physical quantities. Previously you have studied, if you have watched my other videos, I have mentioned about the measuring techniques of length, height, distance, volume, time, angles, right? And what else? Yeah, so here you only need to measure three quantities: voltage, current, and resistance. And most of the time voltage and current has high probability of coming in any experimental task. It does not mean that ohms will never be there or resistance measurement will never be there. They do, but still the high probability is for voltage and current. So remember all these methods, and good luck with your exam. And I'm ending this video. Inshallah, we'll talk about some other quantities in the next video. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.